Well, welcome to Tech Talk, this month's Tech Talk, which is we're now known as Bedrock Tech Talks instead of Northwest Tech Talks. And prior to that, I think we were Chester Data Insights. We keep renaming, can't figure out what name we want. It makes sense because we're global, we're virtual, so Chester doesn't make any sense. Northwest didn't make sense eventually either. So now we're Bedrock because the company I am part of is called Bedrock. So there we go. We are here today with AJ Zafar. I will find out at some point if AJ is short for something because I can't find it. So this is who I am. I'm James Reeves. I do Azure consultancy, so anything data, give us a shout. But it's not about me, so this is a very quick slide. If anyone wants that QR code, it just takes you to my Power BI Limited, which is my old company name on LinkedIn. So if you look for James Reeves, you see Power BI Limited, that's me. But anyway, we also need to do a quick overview that these talks are sponsored by Quest. They produce tons and tons and tons of tooling that you can use on data platforms. So if you were to go to www.quest.com Northwest Tech Talks, because that's the old name, you go see what they're doing. They do the software. I saw them at SQL Bits this year. Yeah, this year. And some of the tooling is Apex SQL. That's one of their tool sets. And I heard about them years and years ago. I didn't realize they were still going really. But then I saw them at SQL Bits. Like, yeah, your tooling's come on. It's pretty good. So they're sponsoring us. What that means is all attendees get a chance. Basically, I put about 5 minutes before the end, I'll take a download of all the attendees, stick them in an Excel spreadsheet, generate a random number between 1 and however many people there are, and then you'll get a £50 Amazon gift voucher, which is very nice of Quest. So if you would take the time to go to that website, that lets them know that it has an impact sponsoring, and they are good, so why not? Just to a bit of housekeeping so everyone knows, everyone is on mute by default. If you do want to speak, please raise your hand and I will unmute you. It's only because I've had a bad experience in the past where we got a bit hacked, and I don't want AJ to suffer that. So I kind of gone the other way and have gone very, very, very secure. But it also means less collaboration. So we'll see how it goes. AJ, if you want me to open it up to everybody, I will do. I'll take your lead. I'll monitor questions. I'm also monitoring Meetup and I'm also monitoring LinkedIn because I put it on there as well. So if there's any questions that come in, I'll let you know. Other than that, I'm just over to the star of the show.
No, you're too kind, mate. You're too kind. Well, let me get started and sharing screens. I just want to check. Obviously, they can all put things in the chat as well, right? Is that
Chat's open.
Perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Well, in a bit, then we may open up for questions. And thank you, James. I appreciate that. No, this is exactly what I presented at Scottish Summit with a bit more of a live demo to it as well. So hopefully, I can help you with that. Let me share my PowerPoint. Now, I will admit, the first 2 slides are a bit sexy, but after that, I go more demo-y because I don't really like PowerPoint. So hopefully that does appeal to some of you. But it's about how to supercharge your browsers with Power Platform extensions. And I'll go into a bit of detail onto the agenda. So let me pull that up my side. And sorry if I keep looking here because you guys are there. But my slides and everything are here, so I can keep an eye on both. So if you see me dotting around, I am paying attention to you all. So let's go through here. So I'm going to go through browsing the web like a boss, a bit of an intro into extensions. I'm assuming we're all techies here, but I do like to give a bit of a baseline into what we're talking about. Forgive my puns, but the extensional benefits and why you should give them a go. A bit about an extension experiment I did a bit ago, which helped me realize that this wasn't the gimmick I once thought it was. And it's actually pretty cool, I think, now. And I've done a bit more with it than what I did at the time. And when to use apps or extensions, because once I started doing this, I went crazy, turning every single thing into an extension when it may not have been the best thing. I'll go into a bit more about how they work together, how you can integrate further, and my favorite part is the Manifest v3 APIs. And I've chosen the same one I chose at Scottish Summit to demo, which was the one about the Chrome Tabs API, which you can use across all the Chromium-based browsers, your Edge, your Opera, your Chrome, and all that stuff. So we'll go through all of that. And if we still have time at the end, I do go through 8, which is a guide to sharing things, but I do tend to talk a bit. So I'm hoping we have time for that section because the most important thing is sharing these. And I'll always have time for questions at the end. So let's click along. This is me. My name's AJ, for those of you that don't know me. And it is short for something, but I like to keep that a bit of a mystery. That's my little LinkedIn QR code. So you can give that a scan if we're not connected already. I love to connect with people, and you can always ping me questions on LinkedIn. So I'm a Power Platform Solution Architect over at the wonderful Curve Digital. It's a fantastic Microsoft partner. And I also was a developer for a long time as well. So I do like to develop in my spare time in terms of, like, playing around with cool stuff, making things, and, growing the platform as everyone likes to do. So let's get stuck in. So let's talk about browsing the web like a boss. This is the text-heavy slide that's coming up. So with browser extensions, what are they? In a nutshell, they're small applications that sit in your browser that help add additional functionality to the browsers. You make them traditionally using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and more code-heavy development ways of doing things. But obviously today we're going to be looking at how you can do the same stuff with low-code, with Power Effects, and with Power Apps. And if you know how to build a Canvas app, you'd be able to do these. Now, browser extensions are often used for things like productivity, calendars, note-taking, task managers. Some people use them for colleague health and wellness, as well as finance for tracking things and managing things at a quick glance. The use case I'll show you in a bit was actually for a cool thing. It was an employee recognition system. When you share the love for your teams, I might say, James over here is doing a phenomenal job, raising the awareness of tech talks. I might want to give him like a recognition, a little badge or something. So that was the key one that got all of this started for me, because I had a client once asked me for that functionality. And that's when I thought of a way that I could do it using Power Platform, because the rest of the stuff was already in Power Platform. So just before we go further, I'm going to talk a bit about the benefits of extensions. Let's go through to the extensional benefits bit. And this is tried and tested. When you take a look at the experiment I'll show you on the coming slides, you'll see that users do appreciate them. There's an enhanced user experience in terms of how they can interact with an app. I like navigating to apps. I like the full-fledged apps. I love my model-driven apps and my Canvas apps, which they're very powerful and they've got loads of screens, and sometimes they offer a lot more value that way. But sometimes you've got something small or quite basic and slim and slender, and you want to just let them quickly use it. A good example of that I've seen, a common one, is app launchers. I'll show you a cool one of those quite shortly, where people navigate to one app to navigate to other apps, and it's putting all the apps in one space. The admins can manage it. But instead of like having it as a separate app that they have to either type the URL or have in their favorites or click a link for, they all just have it at the top of their browser. I'll show you that one. But when you click it, it could just navigate you straight through. And that's a key area for the enhancing of user experience. My favorite one was the increased engagement for the recognition app. If it's there, it's easier to click into. But I think point 3 is really what I want to highlight the most. Ever since I started using the Manifest v3 APIs, which I will go into in more detail, it allows you to interact with your browsers more deeply. For example, if you've got a browser extension, you could pass the current URL of the tab that you're in through to it. You could read the DOM, or the document object model, of the page that you're on, extract values from it, scrape values from it. You could use the Chrome Alarms API to, at certain points in time, trigger code, pop up the app if you wanted to, query something, send out HTTP requests. It's really cool. And that's just bringing your browser and you closer. I saw a great use case someone else did, where they were using the API that lets them know when the browser's like idle and not idle, to pop up things and check for things when users are doing stuff. So when a user comes away from being idle for a long time, it like sends a request to get them any updates for anything they might have missed and pops it up in a Power Apps extension. So there's loads of cool stuff with those. And the last thing, obviously, the competitive advantage. When you're building with browser extensions and you're giving your users something cooler, you're giving your clients something cooler. If you're an end user, your teams or employees something cooler where they can work in, and it differentiates it from those other traditional Power Platform applications that are just stuck in an app. You can pop it up. So that's a bit about the benefits. And here are the results. This is some super cool data. I realize now I haven't put the year for this, but this was gathered at the end of last year. This was when I was first really growing up the experiment of understanding what users prefer doing, what's their preference. And this was around an app that I'm about to show you straight after this, where I wanted users to submit recognition for teams, fill out stuff to say this person was awesome. But with that, the problem we had was some people waited to the end of the day, then I'll open the app, I'll add all the recognitions. Often colleagues forgot. There wasn't as much, ease of access to getting into that. And it was a nice app. I still think the app's cool because it has a leaderboard and stuff, which I'll show you. But the ability to just click in and just send off recognitions was really valuable. So we had a huge increase in the number of submissions. You'll see what I did was I had the app embedded in Teams, I had it as a URL where people could access, and I had the extension. And the bulk of the submissions came through the extension. I was snooping on my users. Not that I like to be all big brothery, but it's good to get analytics to see what users prefer. So I put parameters at the end of different things. I used different like API instrumentation keys to see what people are doing, what's the behavior in the apps. And this really stood out to me. And it let me know that this is not just a gimmick. People love this. People like doing it. They like using it. And it's only grown from them ever since I started using those APIs I was referring to. But let's start showing stuff because I'll come back to app or not to extension because I like to show things. Let me drag onto my screen some examples of what we were just talking about. Now, this is a dummy that I've quickly spun up for my demos because the real one, they wouldn't let me demo that. So this is a very basic one. You may recognize some names from some friends in the community that I've popped in here. This is what I call the positive pulse up. You send a positive pulse about someone awesome. So I could go ahead and see a little leaderboard, some stats. I could send a pulse in this app. It's quite a basic app that I've put together. Let me just search for a friend. Let's go with Lewis. Lewis is a great guy. He's got an awesome blog. I could give him a Bright Spark Award because you're awesome.
Are these guys checking this app, or are you doing this just for demo?
Just a demo. This is just something purely my side. But you know what? Maybe I should have. That's a good idea. Maybe I should build one that like harasses them, sends them an email notification to let them know when I think they've done something good.
I think the community side of it, you know, you, Laura, Craig, if everyone had an app like that, we could all give each other praise. Let us know what's going on.
I'm going to take that idea on board and probably build that now that you've said that. It's actually a really cool concept. I think sharing praise is a great thing, and community to community, peer to peer is the best way. I'm a big fan of it, and it also makes people know that we appreciate what they do. Because I'm a big fan of what some people in the community do. As you mentioned, Laura, Craig, Chris, Will, they do some fantastic stuff. So it's always good to give some praise. So I'll probably build that. But yeah, this is it in a nutshell. It's a very basic demo app that I've spun up. But let me go ahead and what doesn't it like? But that's fine. Did I move my files because I'm evil? Yes, I did. Give me 1 second. I just tested this, but before I tested it, I moved everything. Let's quick. This is a great demo. It's intentional. All of this is intentional. It's a great demo.
Live demo gods.
Live demo gods. Let's go ahead and what I've done here is I'm in dev mode on a browser, and I've got my browser extensions loaded unpacked, which basically means I'm deving stuff and I'm testing what I've got. So let's go ahead and load and pack the first one. So this was all a test. It was all intentional. So if I go to my downloads, Supercharge. Oh, no, it's desktop now, isn't it? That's where I moved it. Demo extension. We want the sender pulse extension. It's a very basic one. Let's pop that in. And now up here we've got this. Let's also load in the app launcher because I want to demo that to you as well because I just mentioned it a bit ago. That was one of the first ones I started out with. It was quite basic. Fantastic. So
great
this
demo,
is
because it shows you that you have the files on your local machine and you can load them in.
No, exactly that. When you develop these, I always like to develop them locally, and then once this is done, my preferred way of sharing them is actually putting them in the Chrome web store and then leaving it there as a private link. And then what people can do in organizations is like, if you're the admin of the browser, I'm sure you've probably seen in a lot of clients that says managed by organization on their browser.
Yeah.
When they're managed, they can just cascade the extension through to everybody without them needing to install it themselves and without them having it locally. But for the devs, you always want it locally so you can make your quick changes. Load it unpacked so you can test things, and it's a pretty cool way of doing it. So yeah, this was a very good intentional live demo. But let's click here. So this right here is a Canvas app. It's a power up that I've embedded into a browser extension. Let's go ahead and launch the Positive Pulse. So this would have probably been a cooler way to launch it. But you can have it so that it can read from a database, a SharePoint list, Dataverse table, which is properly a database. Dataverse is always better than SharePoint, in my opinion. And over here, you can then go ahead and like put in like icons for your apps, URLs for them, and you can even specify who has access to what. So maybe you give this app launcher to everybody, and then they only see the ones they have access to. And it's a nice, quick way to navigate between apps. If you want to quickly, put an app out of service, you could just hide it on the app launcher and like put your banners up in the app as you normally do, or you could put little notices next to apps and things like that. I saw some people build app launchers with feedback next to the apps as well, but I'm going to demo the app I'm going to demo in the live build is going to be a feedback app. So I'm not going to do that for now, but you can see where this is quite useful. But with the sender pulse one, this is a very basic demo of it. Let's allow. Here you go. I can search for a recipient. I just put a bunch of people into a SharePoint list. Let's go for, trying to pick a name I'm familiar with. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Dan Barber. Oh, Joe. Let's go Dan first, and we'll give him a champion. There you go. Submit. Nice and easy. And it works all using the low-code stuff that you've got in your Power Apps. I didn't need any HTML for this, no JavaScript. That I have a tool for that writes all of that for you, which I'll be demoing. And if I click this, it's the link to the full app if I want to see the leaderboard and everything. So now we've kind of shifted the user's behaviors. Instead of them having to, navigate to this big app and click on to send a post and do it. If they want to just send a post, they could click here and send one. If they want to just go to apps instead of, having their favorites or folder or whatever they do, they could just click App Launcher and just do that here. And it's a really cool way of doing things, in my opinion. But it's really important to know what's right for an app. I wouldn't build this entire positive pulse hub inside of an app. I wouldn't put the, maybe I could add a leaderboard functionality, but then you start to get something very clunky, and it's too much, I think, for the users. It's when you want something slim, slick, and quick and fast, I think is the right place for this, or when you want to use those, browser APIs to add more value. So if I go back to my wonderful PowerPoint, to app or not to app, that is the question. So I think extensions are exciting and they're really awesome to use, but my rule of thumb is this: if you're looking for offline capabilities, obviously an extension is definitely not right because it's working in your browser. If you're looking for things like where you've got loads of images, loads of big features that you want to show, like loads of pie charts and dashboards and leaderboards, you're probably not best placed putting that in an extension. Things that would be good in an extension would be things like the app launchers, or maybe like a payment calculator. I can show you an example of something like that, where someone might need to quickly, use the internal calculations a company has to calculate something, or someone might need to quickly submit something like an error, for example. That's a great example. So I can actually, let me show you that actually. Solution Station's one of, oh, that's a later demo. I'll show you that in a bit, but you might want to just go ahead and do those things with a payment calculator. Let's bring that back across. I've got a cooling demo that might actually be nice, because I've only shown you some more basic ones. But if I bring across Solution Station ready for the later one, and finally, payment calculators. So this is a great use case for people in the finance industry, for example. Maybe they want to make quick assessments as to what the savings payments might be. So you pick a start and an end date, an account balance. Let's pretend I have loads of money, because that makes me feel good. 5% here. That's my interest rate. That's a lot of money. But you can go ahead and change things up, and it can calculate quickly. So instead, let's say I'm with a customer and they ask me that question, I can quickly give them the answer without having to faff about and get some information from elsewhere. But let's head back over to what I want to show you guys in terms of this, because I'm conscious of time. So I did a bit of the demos of when they meet. This is cool. Breaking the browser barrier and how to integrate them. That was what I demoed by accident in terms of how to load them unpacked. But what gets cooler with the integration is when you use the manifest v3 APIs. So I'm going to come back to this slide and go through it in more detail, but I'm going to demo it first to you so you can see it. And then what we'll do is we'll do a live build. So bring it across. Solution Station. This is what I wanted to show you guys. So this is when I started using those APIs. So let's say Solution Station was something when you wanted to report a bug. Pull it up. Got my title for my app. Title for my issue. Sorry, I have problems.
I just noticed your splash screens are different per app as well, aren't they? So it's.
Oh yeah, you can customize that. On my newer ones, I've got a standardized thing that gets generated,
Yeah.
but you can have different cool splash screens when you do it. And to be fair, I'm debating adding that into my generator tool. James, did you see the generator tool at Scottish Summit?
I did, yeah. I think you were just about making it live, or you had made it live, but you wanted to improve it at the time.
That's
I'm
it.
sure. I'm sure you always want to improve it, and you're never happy with it. That's just your nature.
That's it. I'll be honest, I'm still not. I want to keep adding more features to it and growing it out, but I'm thinking maybe adding the ability to upload your own image as a splash screen instead of using my default one. But if you take a look at this, in a Power App, it acts like an app, right? And it captures the app ID, the URL. I'm touching and pointing here, thinking you guys can see me, but essentially, right over here, you can see all that cool stuff gets added in. But if I go over to, let's go to SharePoint for an example. Oops, I've got something in SharePoint. Let me bring over a little SharePoint site. Yeah, my mouse is gone. There you go. Let's go to SharePoint. Evil thing. My mouse is being a bit of a pain. Give me 1 second. I'll bring it across and bring it back. There you go. It's better on this screen. There you go. Office.com. Sign in. SharePoint. There you go.
That's a weird one. I've never known a mouse work better on one screen than the other.
It's because I'm doing something dodgy in the back. I'm building something that is taking mouse inputs, and I have it open in VS Code running.
Okay.
It was a cool concept that I'm trying to develop. However, I haven't turned it off before I started this demo, which means it only works primarily on my main monitor and not on my side one. So let's go over to here. There you go. Bring it across. You see it changes size and everything. There we go. Nice and easy. So the same app that I just demoed, if I go ahead and put here, let's just skip this bit because I think it's being a pain. I'm trying to get this solution station on a browser, but what I'll do is I'll demo it if I go into, let's say Google. That's a better way. Let's keep it simple. It passes through the URL and it behaves differently. So if I'm on Google, it knows it's not an app. And then I can go ahead and click on to Solution Station, and it pulls up a little web-based one. The reason I wanted to show you the SharePoint one was because I did a bit of cool work into it, which isn't working right now, where it sees the folder, sees the file that you're in, captures the folder path, captures the site, captures everything, and then it passes it through as part of the error. And it does that using those Manifest v3 APIs, which I will show you here. Now, I'm going to go a bit code heavy to explain how this all works, but I'm going to explain quite quickly how you don't need to do any of this. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the browser extension, they're really made up of just a small number of files. Just these over here. You have icons that are ranging in different sizes, your little loading splash screen, a manifest JSON file, and then a pop-up that you want to show, and then you pop up JavaScript. And if I go here, the manifest is quite simple. This one's a bit more advanced in terms of having tabs and active tabs because it's defining permissions where it reads the tab that you're on and passes through the URL. But typically, in a normal one, you might not even have permissions if you're not looking to integrate further. You'd have this through. The JavaScript is usually even more simpler than this, but this is one I've customized. But I've added comments here to explain what's happening for the demo I did for Solution Station. But essentially, it waits for the website and everything and the pop-up to be loaded. It goes ahead and it checks what the tab you're on is, gets the URL for it, passes it through, depending on what you've done at the different parameter to the end of the URL. And I've spent more time testing this and playing with this, and I've added it into my generator tool. So it actually writes this all for you. So let's do a live build, and then we'll convert one of these into a browser extension that looks like this. So all this evil JavaScript and HTML, you won't need to remember, but I'll happily provide you with the files afterwards. But this will do it for us. So let's open up this browser, bring it across, and we'll head over to Power Platform. So I'm going to App Feedback Tool, where I have made a table which only has added a few basic columns, and I've just done that for convenience, but just to show you guys. I've added in the app URL, I've added a comments box, I've added a rating, and that should be it. Now, what I want to do is I want to build a pop-up. So it captures the URL automatically using the APIs, and it lets users write feedback about whatever they're in, whether it's an app, whether it's something on the web, whether it's an internal Power Platform solution or an external like customer-facing website that we've set up for customers maybe. So I can set it up so colleagues can give feedback on those. So let's go ahead and build quite a basic app for it.
Just had a use case pop to my mind, which was quite good. If you're in a restrictive company where they shut down certain web pages, it would be great to request, that something gets whitelisted just there and then in the I've just been blocked. Click the extension. Please, can I have access?
Exactly that.
That's
so
good.
It would know what site you're on. You know what? Why don't we build that? Should we do it?
Yeah, that's it.
No, let's build that. I think that's cooler. So we'll just make a new table. I'll keep it in the same solution just for convenience. Let's call it unblock requests. Me and James did not plan this ahead of time.
Yeah, it felt planned, but it wasn't.
Unblock requests. So we'll go ahead and just make this into a reference, and I'll use an auto number because I like those. Yeah, that should do us. We don't need to worry about audit for this test. So I'll save this. And then all I'll do is I'll add in one more column for the app URL. I mean, the site URL. Site URL. Keep it, sorry, single line text, and then it will be URL. We'll leave that as required, and that should cover us, but let's increase this up. You get some long URLs. I don't expect too many that long, though. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got that. The created by should cover who's requesting it. The date time is the created on. I think that should, we might want an unapproved thing. Actually, we'll choose the existing status. Okay, brilliant. So let's go ahead and build an app for this. If I go back to apps over here, click on new, go to app. So I always go for canvas, and for these extensions, I like to go for the phone layout. So let's go ahead and say unblock. Let's go with that. It's probably not the world's best name. Okay, let's start building it. So we'll start with a container, a vertical one, just to get it all laid out. I do name things with naming conventions normally, so let's start doing that. Let's put in, let's call it home. We already doesn't need a home screen for this type of app. We'll go ahead and make the X 0, the Y 0, parent dot width, and we'll go with parent dot height, capital H. Fantastic. So that fills out the container. Brilliant. Okay, so let's add in, let's insert a label for the heading. We'll go with, let's put a background color. Let's go with blue. Blue's a nice color. Okay, maybe darker. So I'm getting a bit too fussy, and then we'll make the text white. Increase the width of this to, what's the width? There you go. Parent dot width, and that fills the whole screen. Center that up, and let's go ahead and say unblocker. Go with that. That sorts us out for that. And for the height, I'll just go with my usual parent dot height times 0.1. A little bit brave going for a live demo, but so far it's going well.
I was going to say, very, very rare you see a live demo. Laura Graham Brown does live demos as well.
No, exactly that. I love Laura's live demos, especially when it comes to Power BI. She did, especially my one she did recently was the embedding it in a model-driven app. That was a fun one.
Power BI in model-driven app?
Yeah, so it was Power BI model-driven apps, and including the Power BI as part of the solution. It was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I've seen her do the other way around, where you have a Power App, Power Automate, etc. in Power BI, but not flipping it. That's interesting.
No, it's quite a good one, and it deploys with the solution, which is quite a cool way of doing it.
Nice.
So let's go ahead and put this as a flexible heights on. Let's just add in another container for the button. Container. I'll keep it easy. I'm going to go with this. And it's not gone where I want it to go, but now it has. Okay. Then we'll put the height for this. Nice and small. Let's go for turn off flexible height. We'll keep this at 225. Yeah, that should do us. And then we'll put in a button. Just pretend everything has naming conventions. We'll go X.
I love that it's being recorded because people are watching going, yeah, this is quick. But yeah, you can play it back and slow it down.
Apologies, yeah, that is
it's no need to apologize. It's demo time, and it needs to
100%. Because I was planning to use some recanned tables, and I was going to copy in some forms. But you know, I like the idea that you came up with quite a bit, so I thought let's build it. So let's blame James, guys, if anything goes on this.
I did the same thing in Scottish Summit. Came up with ideas, didn't I? With the
yes,
the right back functionality in Power BI. I still have I still haven't done anything with that, but
Oh, it's a really cool idea, and it's a great way of doing things. Let's change this to height. I think it's a better way than the traditional way of doing it with the embedded apps, personally.
yeah.
There we go. And we'll call this button submit. And there we go. Let's connect to some data. The data source and new our table. What did we call it? It was unblock
Yeah, I think so.
request. Unblock requests. That's the one. That work? You happy? It's happy. Reference will make an auto number in the table. Actually, for now, we'll just type it. We'll keep it simple. Created on, we don't need that. It's hidden. It's automatically set by the table. Let's go ahead and bring across the site URL. I feel like that box might be a bit too small for it. So we'll let it be bigger, multi-line. And let's just grow it out a bit. I should probably auto height. No, that's a bad idea. Let's just make it bigger and let people scroll for now. That'll make it quicker for us. Okay, and that should be nice and simple. Submit, then needs to submit this form. Form select.
So I think I missed it because I had to do something. I've got work going on that screen. How so site URL was in your IntelliSense. So if you got it, how is that in your IntelliSense? That must have come from somewhere.
Oh, so site URL, I added that from the table.
Oh, was that in the table? Cool.
Yeah, so we added a column when we created the table and we called it site URL. It's just a text column, but formatted to look like a URL.
Perfect.
And the reference was the primary name column. Okay, so this is quite basic, but I reckon this should do the trick. We'll do an on-success reset form just so it actually can be reused. That might be a good idea. And I think that should do us. Reset form. And we'll also put a notify because I like notifies. There we go. And we'll do notification type.success. Fabulous. Yeah, I reckon that looks like a cool extension.
Nice.
Let me quickly check my display settings for what I use in my generator. So I didn't use my template to build it. I built it from scratch. I always recommend using a template, but let's quickly go here, settings, display. Okay, yeah, that's all I need to change. I know I missed a step. I like to keep my things responsive so I can use them in different formats. So I always like to turn off scale to fit. Is it happy still? It is. There you go. That was a pretty successful demo. But now how do we put it in a browser? Let's do that. So I've got my new app. Maybe you guys over here, so I'm not looking too far away. And feedback tool. There's my app. Let's get the URL for it. Let's go to details. Let's copy it from here.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to use my generate an extension tool because I'm going to be cheeky and quick. Bob. I'm removing the email thing and changing it to send me a cool message, as I mentioned at Scottish Summit. So this will change to say something fun. Extension name, unblock site requester, site access requester. We should probably use the same name across everything, but let's keep it interesting. Put the URL in. Oh, we need an icon. Add one for my feedback. Let's go get one for your unblocker. Flat icon's a useful resource, by the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly grab something. That's the first thing. Let's go with the padlock. This looks cool. G. Just attribute this person. They're cool. Thank you for making this icon. Swing back over to here. Choose my icon. Excellent. And now I'm going to click on this and then click submit. There's one more change I'm going to make after this, but once I do that, if I don't click this, it's just going to generate me the extension. But what I want is I want the site URL to come through automatically. So I'm going to do this, hit submit. Should get a zip file created for me. When you share these to browser web stores, you upload the zips, but when you want to test and mess with them yourself, you need these unpacked. So let me go ahead and unzip it and put it on my desktop. Extract tool, extract. Fabulous. Let's move it to that work. Do not see it. Demo gods frowning. 1 second, perhaps I've switched to desktop. That's what's happened. Let's just do it from here. Keep it simple.
Whilst AJ's just sorting that out, if anyone's got any comments, feel free to, the chat is open. And I've actually unmuted everybody, so you can all turn your mic on if you want to.
Oh, awesome. Good to hear people.
Well, I looked at the list of attendees and I was like, well, I know most of them. So it's a little risk of being hacked. And I can always shut them back down again if I need to.
Fantastic.
I think it's a change Teams made in response to obviously Teams blew up after COVID. It started to get used a lot more.
Yeah.
So one of the improvements they made is the ability to just turn everyone's mics off.
No, it does make sense. What was it? Those Zoom bombers that were quite
yeah. So that's what happened to me on Teams.
Oh yeah, that's a nightmare, mate. Where is it? Site access request. There you go. Bring it across. Is it working now? Fantastic. And let's do an unzip here. Extract tool. Oh, is it already extracted? That's fun. Okay. Let's open that. There you go. This is what I wanted to see. So let's open this in VS Code. Open. Brilliant. This is what the tool generated for me. So it's gone ahead and it's done a query to get it from the tab, and it's got my URL from the form, and it's pinged it at the end. And the parameter is what I forgot. This. So I'm adding this to my GitHub documentation, but at a glance, this is all it's doing, and it's done all the code for you. So I'm not even going to go through. I'll go through this more in the question stage if there's questions on it, but I'm not going to go through this because I didn't need to type any of this. The tool I built did it all for me, and I trust my tool because I built it. He says with confidence. So I'm going to go ahead and swing over to Power Apps.
So Ben's asked, can you do this for Chrome add-ins? I think I can answer the question for you, which is yes. It's yeah.
Exactly. You can 100% do this for Chrome add-ons. I personally use Edge because Microsoft are awesome. Hashtag Microsoft. Yeah. They want to sponsor me, that would be cool. But no, in terms of Chrome, it works with Chrome, it works with Opera, any of the Chromium-based browsers. So I think if you're weird and you use Firefox still, yeah, you can do it there as well.
And Brave's Chromium as well.
Exactly that. Ooh, this is the wrong thing. Far too many links. There you go. This is the one.
I'll agree with you that Microsoft's awesome, but I would maybe not agree with you on Edge. It's problematic.
I agree, but I think with Chrome, one thing I don't like is I don't know if they've added it now, but there was I can hit Control-Shift-K and it duplicates my tabs. And one thing you'll notice about me if you work with me, I'm obsessed with multiple windows and loads of tabs.
Yep.
So I like the ability to duplicate and make my life harder with more tabs.
Yep, that's fair. I think my objection to Edge was being able to work with multiple profiles. I don't know if they've solved that. Have they solved that?
They have.
Oh, cool.
So now it's all snazzy. So I like that. That's why Edge ticks the boxes for me.
Yeah. Well, it's because in the old days before new teams, like we were talking about earlier, I used to have a different profile in the browser per client I was working with, so I could log into all the different teams across the thing. But to be honest, now that's not a problem anymore. I'm moving away from. I still use profiles because it's good to have different favorites, etc. But you know what I could have? I could have my own Canvas app add-in with links, so I don't need to be maintaining different browsers.
Exactly that. I wonder what you could use to make that. There we go. So all I've added quickly while we were having a chit chat was in my documentation, you'll see that when you use my form, it creates this parameter, PRM active tab URL. And this is what's passed from the tab that you're on. So I'm just doing what you do in Power Apps, where if you've got a parameter added to a URL, you set it on start usually, Or some people just use the param function throughout their app, but I prefer to just set it on start and then have access to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and now go to my site thing, change the default. Let's unlock it. Change the default to my fast site link. Now, if this worked and we built James's wonderful app and extension correctly, when I go ahead and load it unpacked into my browser, I should be able to use it as expected. So let's give it a go. Manage extensions, turn on developer mode because it's my first time building on this profile. So I wanted to keep it all nice and fresh. Let's go to desktop, demo extension. Nope, site access requester. Select folder. Well, there's my icon. That much has worked. Let's go over to here, click it, and go to flat icon. Say flat icon's blocked. Oh, I know what I've skipped. Everyone's going to judge me for this. Form mode new. Publish.
Yeah, you've remembered that very quickly. That's the kind of thing that'll take people half an hour to an hour to be like, what's not working?
No, the thing is, when you've been through the pain of forgetting to put it in like a new mode or setting the mode properly a few times, you know what the issue is. There we go. Let's refresh. I hate the cache. Oh, yeah. Well, let's fix the design of this, but as you can see, it works quite well. I'm just gonna, because that bugs me. What's it not doing? Width is -60. I don't want that. Parent.width minus 10, 20. Oh, no, that is -60. There's 30 there, 30 there. What am I skipping? Oh, it's the data card. That must be it. Exactly. The parent.width. So to make it responsive, you want to make it match up with what's inside the container. I like the size that I use, so there you go. Now I've published it again. Now will the demo gods like me? I might have to click refresh a few times because it's cached.
So just by publishing,
Yeah,
when you publish it, you haven't saved it, and then oh, okay. So when you've generated it's the wrapper, isn't it? The extension is the wrapper around it. You're updating the app that's linked to. Okay, I get it. I'll try to understand why you didn't have to re-download the zip and expand it again.
No.
That's cool.
It's exactly
That's rapid development. That's nice. So if you could do the extension as kind of one of the early stages, get that working, and then expand your app afterwards.
100%. Why will it not let me clear? Choose what to clear. There you go. Image browsing sites. That's
what I was thinking for this, I'm like beyond the scale. I'm not asking you to demo this now. What you could do with the unblock app is that could forward to either to an email simply, or it could be a Power Automate that goes into a service desk ticket or a Jira ticket or whatever. You can so your users don't have to be in Jira. You could if Jira is what you use, or if DevOps what you use, you could call an API to create a new ticket with these details, kind of thing. That'd be pretty cool.
Exactly it. No, it's those kinds of things that make it really awesome. I'm just going to clear my cache on the other thing. There you go. Cache, clear browsing data, choose what to clear, clear now. There you go. So now it shouldn't be cached.
James Solon says just it stops the user having to bounce around, and it's absolutely that. People and you saw your usage increase because if you especially for the feedback one, I can imagine if it's like, oh, someone's done something really cool, I must praise them. That thought goes away. You've had lunch, you've had coffee, whatever, that goes away. Whereas in the browser, you just like click, so done. Yeah, I like that.
That's it in a nutshell. When you've got users doing apps that when they quickly can access it, they'll probably do things in the moment. It changes the behavior that they follow and how they work through things, which is what I like about it.
And I like that it doesn't have to be new and custom. You could, I'm guessing, you could, if your company uses Teams, the praise within Teams, that's great. I guess this add-on could just fire off that API, so you stay within the same ecosystem. You just have a different method of getting to it.
No, exactly that. My favorite thing that I'm working on right now is Microsoft Authentication Library for browser extensions only works up to Manifest v2. I'm currently trying to see if I can work around that and have it work up to 3. So I could do things like using the Chrome Alarms API to query Dataverse and choose whether or not to pop up notifications on the app and bring it to the user's attention if something's gone wrong, for example, in an alert system. There's other cool things about being in an app without actually having to be in an app. As you mentioned, you could integrate with all these APIs and graph APIs. And my favorite part of this, some people from security concerned people raised concerns with me, and they said to me, "Hey AJ, what about authentication with browser extensions? But because this is a Power App and the browser extension is just a wrapper around the Power App, the authentication's already done. It's because I'm signed in that it lets me do this. If I was not signed in, or if I was in incognito, this wouldn't work for me. It would make me sign in first, and then it would work. The pop-up you get when you open an app would come up here, and you'd have to follow it through."
Nice.
But while I was clicking away on the other screen, clearing my cache, it's now all nice and snazzy. So it loads up, put in my reference, but it was going to be an auto number. But for now, I do this. I just hit submit. So there you go. Probably should have reset it. Oh no, it's because it's still reading the active tab. So that is the reset. So yeah, it's a pretty cool way of working through things. So yeah, you're welcome to use my tool to build it all out. I'm also happy to provide the raw code stuff so you guys can go ahead and like do it yourselves if you enjoy typing code when it's automated. You're welcome to do that as well. But just one more thing that I wanted to go through was what these manifest v3 APIs are. I keep talking about them, but let's go to the API reference and let me ping it in the chat actually. That's a good idea. Boom. There you go. So over here, you've got a long list of things that you can do with the API. You'll see highlighted in purple some of my favorite stuff, but it's essentially the alarms on schedules code to run at certain intervals. There's loads of other cool stuff, but it's another good one that I like. Declarative net request. I used to block and modify things and change how web requests come through browser. Desktop capture and other screenshotting tools I use for like debugging. So Solution Station could take a screenshot of what's the problem was, what the error message was. Because how many times have you got users reporting something to you and you're like, so what was the error? What did you see on your screen? What was the problem? But this can then do that. You can then, package it together, maybe convert it to base64 and then send it through to the app as a parameter. DOM is one of my favorites. A great use case I saw from someone from an Australian Melbourne user group. They went ahead and messaged me later on LinkedIn saying that they used this for use cases where RPA wasn't right for them, but they needed to have users fill in details from a web page that didn't have an API, didn't have anything useful, into an app for them to store on a cloud-based database like Dataverse or SQL. So what he did was he used this to read the DOM, the document object model, the HTML of the page, scrape all the information, pass them all through as parameters, and all users had to do is click the extension, it loads up, they hit submit, click load, submit, click load, submit. It rapidly improved productivity there. Personally, I like using automation wherever you can, but if there's genuine reasons why not, that's also another good use case.
So that's like essentially a screen scrape, isn't it? You've got a set of data in one place that you can't programmatically access.
Exactly.
And it's an interface that essentially gives you programmatic access. All right, it's one by one, but I'm sure you could do something on top of that to make it browse to the next profile or whatever, and then upload.
Exactly that.
Super
you
cool.
can pass commands. So commands lets you even pass scripts through to the page. So where is that one? Is it commands? Yeah. And commands is the keyboard shortcut one where you can pop up things using keyboard shortcuts, and you can now pop up your app with keyboard shortcuts. Where's the one that passes scripts through? It's page capture saves the tab as HTML in case you need that. Scripting, Chrome.scripting lets you run scripts. So it lets you use JavaScript to click on things, move things, do things. So you could run a session, click start, have it do stuff. It's really powerful. Like someone even showed me an evil one. Don't do this, but you could even, with the consent of your users, use the browser extensions to turn off their computers. So don't do that. You're mean if you do that, but you've got different stuff, so you can really interact with things. But the reason Chrome moved from MV2 to MV3 was primarily because of the increase in security. Now developers have to declare all the permissions inside the manifest more clearly. A lot of things are locked down unlimited, and users have to intentionally add it on, or the admins have to add it on for their users for when they want to add extensions. And so it's a lot more of a secure way of working. So yeah, this is that API reference. I use the Chrome-based one. Everyone uses the same as what's on Chrome. So if you're doing it on Chrome, it works on Edge, which is the best browser, as James and me have agreed. And you can also use it on Brave if you feel brave enough to use it. And then you've got Firefox or them. Someone told me that you can convert them to work with Safari, but I've yet to confirm that myself. So you know, take that with a pinch of salt. But I've been told Chrome extensions can easily be converted to work on Safari. So yeah.
I was just thinking you could the keyboard shortcuts. You could, you know, the old school way you used to walk up to someone's desk and do, I think it was Windows Shift and an arrow key in it.
Yes,
It's twisted their screen.
Yes,
you could do it. You could Rick roll people with your with an extension.
There you go, James. That coming up with the maddest use cases. I love it. So screen unblocker, Rick roller. That's it. We pull up the YouTube thing, pop it up. We can make a command. So we could even use the idle API to pop up the app whenever they've been idle for too long, and the Rick roll just appears.
You get the Jurassic Park guy going,
That's it. So yeah, you've got loads of cool things. I think Power Platform's awesome. We agree on that. I'm assuming because we're all on the cool. But with this, you can give your Power Apps more power. You can empower your browser to do more cool stuff. And if you don't know how to write pages of HTML and JavaScript, use a Canvas app, use Power Effects, build it. Use the tool I demoed, or if you enjoy doing a little bit of JavaScript yourself, write it from scratch and convert them through into browser extensions, and then use the API reference where you can appreciate it to add more value and power. So that's really it in a nutshell. So I hope you enjoyed my mouse pains and my flicking between browsers, Windows screens, and all that jazzy stuff. And I hope the demo was quite appreciated going live with it. I thought it might be risky, but might be fun.
Yeah, that was cool, mate. It was risky, but you pulled it off.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I knew after seeing you at Scottish Summit it'd be a good session, and it was. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure everyone else did. It's now time to announce who. You've all got a good chance because it's 5 people. That includes you as well, AJ. So I'll up it to 6 actually. 6.
Okay. I don't know if it's fair if I win, but if I win, it'll look like we definitely planned this section.
Yeah, well, who was it who won? Marcin Gawinski, who is a co-organizer of Bedrock Data Talks.
Yeah.
He won it a couple of weeks ago. And you're like, oh man, but it is what it is. Let me share my screen. I quite like the just if you just Google random number generator, it's there in browser. You don't even need to. I used to do it in Excel. But yeah, so 1 to 6. I'm going to press generate. Number 4. So AJ is 1, 2, 3, 4. For me, that's Tom Pepper.
Tom Pepper. There we go.
He's got 50 quid Amazon voucher courtesy of Quest. So I've just seen he's turned his mic on, so feel free to say something.
Thanks, gents. And AJ, I really enjoyed that. I learned a lot.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much.
All right.
And I hope you enjoy your Amazon gift card.
Yeah, man, it's in GBP, so you sound like you're in the UK. But
that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, it basically just translates to whatever currency at Amazon's behest. Whether that's a good rate or not, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's cool. I really enjoyed that, AJ. And what I really enjoyed is I don't think I'm going to edit it at all. I'm just going to cut off the first couple of minutes where we were chit-chatting, and I'll upload it straight to the YouTube channel. So people can get back to it and see it, and go a bit slower than you did to see what you're up to. You clearly know your stuff, man.
Well, I appreciate that, James. Honestly, and it was really good to have a little audience here with the chat as well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. And if you want to ask privately, you can always drop me a cheeky LinkedIn. That always works.
Yeah, LinkedIn's a good place for talking.
Fabulous.
Cool. Well, that then I'm 2 o'clock. I'm going to call it a. Got to end it at some point. I'd happily talk to you all day, but I'm also guessing people have to do some work at some point. So it was really cool. So thank you, AJ, and I'll have you back on again. Oh yeah, I've completely forgot to mention as well. You're also the winner of the Community Rising Star Award. So congratulations on that, man.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that.
I voted for you, but there we go. I'm sure I wasn't the deciding vote.
Dude, I appreciate everyone's support. Craig and Laura are amazing. So when I won, I was shocked. I was delighted. So
well, on that note, Laura's talking here in 2 weeks, and Craig is talking in January.
Well, fabulous. I'm looking forward to jumping on and checking them both out. Make sure to send me the link for them, okay?
Absolutely will do.
Or it's all on Meetup, you said as well. I love
it's on Meetup. Yeah, Bedrock Tech Talks on Meetup.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, mate. Right, well, I'll see you again at some point, and thank you everyone for coming.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.